Hello students and welcome to Scholar, your one-stop solution to UPSC preparation. I am Shubhangi Sharma, your faculty for history. And students, this is again a very important lecture. Today we are going to discuss the most important current affairs pertaining to history and art and culture from the previous month, that is November 2020. So basically students, in this particular video, I have compiled the most important news articles from The Hindu and the Indian Express that had come up in last month, that is November 2020, and are specifically important from a history and art and culture perspective. So let's begin, students. Now students, as I have just told you, this particular video is pertaining to the monthly compilation of current affairs from November 2020. Now students, under that, the topics that we are going to discuss in this particular lecture are presented on your screen. I have taken up 5 important news articles. We don't get more than this per month with respect to history and culture, and that is why the most important ones have been compiled. Now the sources, as I've just told you, are The Hindu and the Indian Express, and for your ease so that you can go back and see the articles, I have also mentioned the dates on which these articles had appeared. Let's begin, students. Now herein, the first article that I have taken up is known as Rashtriya Ekta Divas, and students, this particular article has been taken from The Hindu newspaper. Now it has come up on both October 31st and 1st November 2020, and this particular article will form a part of your History of India and Indian National Movement with respect to your preliminary examination, and it will also form a part under Heritage in Culture and History with respect to your GS1 mains examination. Now students, before starting this particular topic, let us first understand that what was in news with respect to this article. Now basically students, our Prime Minister, that is Shri Narendra Modi, had paid floral tributes to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who was the first Home Minister of India, at its 182-meter tall Statue of Unity on his 145th birth anniversary. Now students, in our previous lectures, when we were talking about the current affairs pertaining to art and culture and history, I had emphasized on the fact that whenever any important historic personality whose, let's say 100, 150th, 145th birthday is being celebrated and an article pertaining to them is appearing in the news, then there is a likelihood that a question on that personality might come up in your prelims or mains examination. Now, sufficing that, I have chosen this particular article. Okay, so the Rashtriya Ekta Divas is something that is commemorating the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who is a very well-known freedom fighter, and he had also served as the first Home Minister of our country. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, that is 31st October, is celebrated as the Rashtriya Ekta Divas or the National Unity Day since 2014. यानी कि 2014 में राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस का इंसेप्शन हुआ था, और अगर आप इस नाम से ही समझेंगे नेशनल यूनिटी डे, इसका मतलब स्टूडेंट्स ये है कि सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने जो हमारे इंडियन स्टेट्स के इंटीग्रेशन में अपना बहुत ज़्यादा योगदान दिया था, इसकी वजह से नेशनल यूनिटी डे को ऑब्जर्व किया जाता है. Having said that, students, some of the important aspects that we are going to discuss as a part of this particular article will naturally include the personality of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, his contributions in the freedom movement and in the post-independence period, and apart from the students, we are also going to talk a little bit about the Statue of Unity. Let's move forward. Now students, this Statue of Unity was unveiled to commemorate the contributions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel with respect to the integration of princely states. हम सब जानते हैं कि इंडिया को जब इंडिपेंडेंस मिला था तो वो बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे स्टेट्स में टूटा हुआ था, जिसमें से कुछ इंडिया को ज्वाइन करना चाहते थे और कुछ नहीं करना चाहते थे, जिसकी वजह से केओस की सिचुएशन थी. एंड दैट इज व्हाई इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सिचुएशन सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल had played a very prominent, very significant role in integrating the different princely states in our country within a very short span of time, and that is why he is remembered very dearly. And in order to contribute to his contributions, this particular Statue of Unity had been recently unveiled in past years. Apart from the students, the Statue of Unity is the tallest statue in the world, and that is why it is particularly famous, and it is located on the banks of Narmada River in Vadodara, Gujarat. Apart from the students, now we have understood a little bit about the Statue of Unity. Now we are going to talk about the personality, that is Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel himself. Now students, Sardar Patel was born in 1875 in Gujarat, and he had began his career as a barrister and started his legal practice in Ahmedabad. It will be important to note, students, that he was an active freedom fighter and he was also a social reformer under the British rule. Now, there are certain titles that have been associated with Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, such as the Iron Man of India and the Bismarck of India, and these titles were accorded to him because of his efforts that led to the integration of princely states into the Indian Union within just 1 year. तो अगर आप देखेंगे जो स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी है, जो टाइटल्स हैं जैसे कि आयरन मैन एंड बिस्मार्क ऑफ इंडिया, और जो ये राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस या नेशनल यूनिटी डे है, ये सारी चीजें सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल की एक अचीवमेंट को सबसे ज्यादा कमेमोरेट कर रही हैं, दैट इज हिज कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस टुवर्ड्स इंटीग्रेटिंग द प्रिंसली स्टेट्स इनटू द इंडियन यूनियन. Alright, apart from that, we have understood his birth year, his birthplace, his previous profession, and what all roles did he play as a part of the freedom movement. Now students, we are going to understand the contributions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel during the Indian freedom movement. Herein, students, it will be important to note that Sardar Patel had come into contact with Mahatma Gandhi during the very famous Kheda Satyagraha in 1918, and subsequently he became his follower. अब यहाँ पे इस तरह के जो पॉइंट्स होते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं यूपीएससी पर्सपेक्टिव से. हमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि महात्मा गांधी जो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटी थे, उनसे जो अदर इंपॉर्टेंट पर्सनालिटीज थी फ्रीडम मूवमेंट के टाइम, वो कैसे और कहाँ मिली. एंड दैट इज वाई दिस पर्टिकुलर इवेंट इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस, बिकॉज ड्यूरिंग द खेड़ा सत्याग्रह पटेल बिकेम अ फॉलोअर ऑफ महात्मा गांधी. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also took part in the Bardoli Satyagraha that had happened in 1928. Now, what was Bardoli Satyagraha, students? Basically, under this Satyagraha, there were 80,000 peasants in Surat who were protesting against the land revenue hike. Okay, and herein Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel had also participated, and these satyagrahis or the peasants were successful in reducing their land revenue hike, and after this particular success, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was given the title of Sardar. Alright, so before that he was just Vallabhbhai Patel, he was given the title of Sardar after Bardoli Satyagraha. Again, an important point, you are going to remember it. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also took part in the Simon Commission and also participated in the Salt Satyagraha. Finally, another important point that needs to be noted is that in 1931, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was elected as the President of Indian National Congress. Okay, so these are some important events that are associated with the life of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel during the freedom movement. So you have to remember these factual points. Apart from the students, another important phase of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel began once India got independence, and this is something which is very, very important for us from both the prelims and mains perspective. Now, herein, students, you must know that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel became the first Deputy Prime Minister of independent India, and apart from this, he also held portfolios such as the Home Ministry, the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, and certain other state ministries. Apart from this, as a part of his duties, he was given the task of integrating the princely states, which were 562 in total. हम कॉन्स्टेंटली इस बात के ऊपर एम्फसाइज कर रहे हैं कि सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल का जो सबसे इम्पॉर्टेंट कंट्रीब्यूशन था, दैट वाज द इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ प्रिंसली स्टेट्स विद इन अ शॉर्ट स्पैन ऑफ टाइम. नाउ हियर इन वी हैव कम टू नो दैट दीज प्रिंसली स्टेट्स वर एज मेनी एज 562 in number. So herein we can understand how difficult it must have been for him to integrate such a large area in such a small time. Okay, apart from this, in this process of integrating the princely states, he was assisted by VP Menon. Now students, under the provisions of the Indian Independence Act of 1947, there was the option that was given to the rulers wherein they could either accede to any of the parties, that is India or Pakistan, or they can remain independent. Now, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 was something that was drawn by the Britishers before leaving the country. Under that, as I have just told you, there was this provision for the princely states कि वो या तो इंडिया को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, या वो पाकिस्तान को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, या फिर वो चाहें तो वो इंडिपेंडेंट रह सकते हैं. लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स, जब ये टास्क सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल के हाथ में आया, उन्होंने कंप्लीटली इस प्रोविजन को डिसरिगार्ड कर दिया एंड ही फॉलोड अ आयरन पॉलिसी एंड डिड नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज द राइट ऑफ एनी स्टेट टू रिमेन इंडिपेंडेंट. आप सोच सकते हैं कि इंडिया के अंदर इतने सारे प्रिंसली स्टेट्स थे और कुछ तो ऐसे थे जो इंडिया की ज्योग्राफी में एकदम अंदर अंदर आते हैं. अब इफ रैंडमली लेट्स से दैट पर्टिकुलर princely state decides to stay independent, how will we carve out our own territory, right? So that is why Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel completely discredited this provision, and he decided that no state is allowed to stay independent. They either have to join Pakistan or they have to be a part of Indian Union. And as a result, this cumbersome task, that is of integrating the princely states, was completed by 15th August 1947. However, there were certain exceptions, such as the states of Hyderabad, Junagadh and Kashmir. But it will be important to note that these states ultimately also became part of the Indian Union. So students, with this we have completed our discussion on राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस. मैंने आपको बताया राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस यानी कि नेशनल यूनिटी डे क्या है, किसकी बर्थ एनिवर्सरी को कमेमोरेट कर रहा है, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल की. क्यों कर रहा है? क्योंकि उन्होंने इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ प्रिंसली स्टेट्स को बहुत ही बखूबी तरह से पूरा किया था और इस वजह से उनको एक तरह से रिस्पेक्ट देने के लिए राष्ट्रीय एकता दिवस 2014 से सेलिब्रेट करना स्टार्ट कर दिया गया था. उसके अलावा स्टूडेंट्स, हमने स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी के बारे में थोड़ा सा पढ़ा. स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी जो थी वो भी सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल को ही डेडिकेट की गई है. ये गुजरात में है एंड इट इज द टॉलेस्ट स्टैच्यू इन द एंटायर वर्ल्ड. Apart from that, students, we have extensively discussed the contributions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in the freedom movement and post-independence period. Now, students, let's move on to the next article. It is pertaining to the Odissi dance. If you had seen my previous lecture on art and culture current affairs, how to study them, I had covered this article there itself, but I'm going to recover it in this particular lecture as well. So basically, students, this particular article had appeared in the Hindu newspaper on 13th of November, and it is pertaining to the role of the men in the Odissi dance. Now, we need not go into all the details that are given in this particular article, but there are certain points pertaining to this cultural representation of the Odissi dance or the role of men in Odissi dance. That is something which is important from your art and culture perspective. Now, students, this particular article will form a part with respect to history of India and Indian national movement in the preliminary examination, and with respect to mains examination, it will form a part of Indian heritage and culture under your GS1 paper. Now, students, as a part of this particular article, we are going to cover three important topics. That is the classical status of Odissi, the sculptural evidences of this dance in temples, and the concept of Gotipuas. Alright, let's move forward. So basically, students, the first important takeaway that you need to know from this particular article is that Lord Nataraj is considered the creator of the Odissi dance. Lord Nataraj is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva's one form is known as Nataraj, and he is considered as the creator of the Odissi dance. Apart from the students, you must know that in 1958, this dance was reconstructed as a classical dance form, and finally in 1964, this particular dance was accorded the classical status by the central government. तो कौन से ईयर में ओडिसी डांस को उसका क्लासिकल स्टेटस मिला है, ये आपको बिल्कुल याद रखना है. Apart from the students, this particular article is shedding light on the sculptural evidences of male dancers in Odisha in particular temples, and such kind of depictions are very important from UPSC perspective, particularly your prelims, because we do get a lot of questions pertaining to sculptures and the regional temples. All right. Having said that, students, I would like to point out that the ancient Parshurameshwaram temple in Bhubaneswar has the maximum number of sculptures that are depicting male dancers. Basically, students, इस आर्टिकल के अंदर ये बताया गया है कि करंट टाइम्स के अंदर women are dominating the Odissi dance. However, since the inception of this particular dance, even males were participating actively. But in the current scenario, such thing has been fading away. Now, in order to show that how men were so deeply involved in the practice of Odissi dance, these cultural evidences are very, very important. Having said that, the maximum number of sculptures have been found in Parshurameshwaram temple, which is located in Bhubaneswar. Apart from the students, another important temples that are yielding these cultural evidences include the Brahmeshwar temple, the Megheshwar temple and the Kapileshwar temple, which are all located in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Apart from this, there are two other temples that are also yielding such depictions. That is the most important temple, Jagannath temple in Puri, and the famous Sun temple in Konark. Herein, students, it will be important to note that all these temples that are mentioned here were built between the 12th and 13th century, that is in the medieval time period. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that the ancient dance form of Gotipua was performed by young boys who were dressed as girls, and this is considered as a precursor to Odissi. तो स्टूडेंट्स, जब भी कोई डांस फॉर्म जो हम आज कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स में देख रहे हैं वो नेचुरली उसी तरह से इवॉल्व नहीं होता है, उसकी डिफरेंट स्टेजेस होती है. Similarly, in the Odissi dance, it did not directly develop as a classical dance. Rather, there were many forms from which it later got evolved into its contemporary form. Alright, so among that, one such form was the Gotipua dance, and this was performed by men who had dressed as girls, and this Gotipua dance is considered as a precursor, that is something that was before Odissi, and it is considered a precursor to the Odissi dance. Okay. Apart from the students, now we are going to talk something about the Gotipuas, some extra information about the same. So etymologically, Gotipua means a single boy. However, students, it will be important to note that the Odissi dance is performed in groups. Now, in order to understand the coming up of the Gotipua dance, we need to analyze it historically. Herein, you must know that long ago in the temples of Odisha, there were female dancers who were known as Maharis, and they were devoted to and performed for the Lord Jagannath. Now, these Maharis were the chief repositories of this dance, and they were also known as temple dancers. However, after some point of time, the Mahari dance form started to decline, and their place was taken up by the male dancers or the Gotipuas, who continued the tradition of dressing up as female dancers. तो स्टूडेंट्स, यहाँ पर जो ट्रैजेक्ट्री है, जैसे कि मैंने आपको बताया कि ओडिसी डांस जो है वो धीरे धीरे इवॉल्व हुआ है. तो सबसे पहले जो इसका सबसे ओल्डेस्ट ट्रेडिशन था वो था महारी डांस, जो कि फीमेल डांसर्स थी, एंड दे यूज्ड टू डिवोट देयर लाइफ टू लॉर्ड जगन्नाथ. But after some point of time, this particular dance declined, and the place was taken by the Gotipuas, who were men who had dressed themselves up as women, and they now performed the dance. And finally, in contemporary times, this dance got evolved into the classical form of the Odissi dance. तो आप देखेंगे कि इसकी जो 3 स्टेजेस हैं इनको आपको बिल्कुल याद रखना है. महारीज टेम्पल डांसर्स थे, Gotipuas were men who had dressed as females and performed the Odissi dance, and finally in 1964 this dance culminated into its present day classical form. Alright, so these are some important facts that are a part of this article and are important from our art and culture perspective. So students, with this we have completed our discussion on Odissi dance. Let's move on to the next article. Now students, the next article is pertaining to the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda, and this particular article has been taken from The Hindu. Now this article had come up on 15th November 2020, and it will form a part of your history of India and Indian national movement with respect to your prelims examination, and it will form a part under Indian heritage and culture with respect to your GS1 mains examination. Now students, in this particular article, the main point that has been highlighted is that our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had paid tribute to the tribal leader Birsa Munda on his birth anniversary, that is on November 15th. And he also pointed out that his contribution to the freedom movement and social harmony will inspire the countrymen. Okay, so basically the point here to know is that recently the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda had been celebrated. He was a very important personality with respect to the freedom movement, and that is why this particular topic will be important to us. Here, students, I would also like to point out that in your 2020 prelims examination, a direct question pertaining to Birsa Munda had been asked, and that is why this topic becomes even more important. Alright. Now students, in this particular article, there were certain important points that will be important from your prelims perspective, and this is something that I have pointed out in this particular slide. Now with respect to Birsa Munda, this article has highlighted that he was born in 1875 in present-day Jharkhand, and he had challenged the British rule and is credited with mobilizing the tribal community against the British Empire. Apart from the students, this article is also introducing us to a title that was given to Birsa Munda, that is Dharti Baba or the Father of Earth. And herein it will be important to note that Birsa Munda was able to mobilize the tribals against the oppression of British. Finally, he had died under the British custody at a very young age of 25 years. Now students, associated to the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda is another important event, that is the Jharkhand Foundation Day, that has also been covered in this particular article. So basically what is this? The state of Jharkhand had been carved out of Bihar during the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda in 2000, and that is why the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda coincides with the Jharkhand Foundation Day. तो जिस दिन बिरसा मुंडा की बर्थडे होती है उसी दिन झारखंड फाउंडेशन डे भी होता है। 2000 के अंदर बिरसा मुंडा की बर्थडे वाले दिन ही बिहार से कार्व आउट करके झारखंड को एक नया स्टेट बनाया गया था। तो ये कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स थे स्टूडेंट्स जो इस आर्टिकल में दिए हुए हैं। अब हम रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन में बिरसा मुंडा ने क्या रिवोल्ट किया था उसके बारे में और एक्स्ट्रा इंफॉर्मेशन पढ़ते हैं। So basically students, as I just told you, Birsa Munda was very famous for leading out a rebellion against the British government, and apart from this it was also against the outsiders that were considered by the tribals. Now these outsiders were basically the moneylenders or the landlords. So these were the people who were very much despised by the tribals, and that is why they were absolutely against these moneylenders, the landlords and the British government altogether. Now the rebellion that was started by Birsa Munda came to be known as the Ulugan Revolt or the Great Tumult Revolt or the Munda Rebellion. And this was exactly the question, students, that was asked in your prelims examination 2020. That is, which personality is associated with the famous Ulugan Revolt? And the answer was Birsa Munda. Alright, now this particular revolt was against the British government's imposed feudal state system. फ्यूडल स्टेट सिस्टम का मतलब यही होता है स्टूडेंट्स कि जिसके अंदर बहुत सारे इंटरमीडियरीज होते हैं, जैसे कि लैंडलॉर्ड्स हो गए जो कि रेंट के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट करते हैं, या मनी लेंडर्स या ट्रेडर्स हो गए जो कि सस्ते में सामान लेके महंगे में बेचते हैं, जिससे उन ट्राइबल्स को बहुत ज़्यादा नुकसान होता है. एंड दैट इज़ वाई दीज थ्री पीपल ऑल टुगेदर वर सीन एज द एनिमीज बाय द ट्राइबल पीपल. ओके. Now Birsa Munda as a result awakened the masses, that is the tribal people, and sowed the seeds of revolt in them against the landlords as well as the Britishers. Now as a part of this he organized masses to stop paying the debts and interest to moneylenders and the taxes to British. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that there was another important aspect that was associated with the Birsa movement, wherein not only he wanted to revolt against the exploitation of the moneylenders, landlords and British, he also wanted to reform his own tribal society. Now, as a part of this reformation, he urged the Mundas to give up drinking liquor, clean their village and stop believing in witchcraft and sorcery. Okay, now as a part of this, by this he wanted to lead a revolt that would bring end to the Victorian rule and lead to the establishment of Munda rule in Jharkhand. तो स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ तक हमने देखा कि किस किस नाम से मुंडा रिबेलियन को जाना जाता था, दैट इज द उलुगन रिवोल्ट और द ग्रेट टुमुल्ट रिवोल्ट. किसके अगेंस्ट था ये? इट वाज अगेंस्ट द एक्सप्लॉयटेटिव पीपल सच एज द लैंडलॉर्ड्स, द मनी लेंडर्स एंड अल्टीमेटली द ब्रिटिशर्स. Apart from the students, we had also understood that there was another important aspect to it, that is reforming the tribal society altogether as envisaged by Birsa Munda, wherein he wanted his people to give up false practices such as drinking liquor or believing in witchcraft or sorcery. And as a result, the final aim of this particular rebellion was to throw away these outsiders from their area and establish a Munda rule, that is the rule by the tribal people. Now, in order to do that, Birsa Munda had formed two military units. One was pertaining to the military training and armed struggle, and the second one was for the other propaganda, wherein he had combined both religion and politics and travelled across villages, giving discourses and building a political military organization. So students, Birsa Munda was very much influenced by religions such as Vaishnavism and Christianity, and that is why he had mixed his political agendas with that of religion, and as a part of this he created a sort of small army which was getting trained by military and was being trained for an armed struggle. So these were the aspects that were included as a part of the Munda rebellion. Now students, his struggle against the exploitation and discrimination against the tribals led to the passing of the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act in 1908, which restricted the passing of land from the tribals to the non-tribals. यानी कि स्टूडेंट्स ये जो पर्टिकुलर रिबेलियन हुआ था इसको एक्चुअली में एक पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट मिला. ऑल्दो बिरसा मुंडा की बहुत अर्ली एज में डेथ हो गई, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं था कि इस पर्टिकुलर रिबेलियन का कोई आउटकम नहीं आया. इसका एक बहुत अच्छा आउटकम आया, दैट वाज द पासिंग ऑफ द छोटा नागपुर टेनेंसी एक्ट इन 1908, जिसके बाद में नॉन ट्राइबल्स की लैंड को नहीं खरीद सकते थे. So students, these are some of the most important points that are associated with the Munda rebellion. I have also pointed out that what is the Jharkhand Foundation Day, that it coincides with the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda, and some important aspects that are associated with the personality, that is Birsa Munda. So students, with this we have completed the discussion on this particular article. Let's move on to the next one. Now students, the next article is titled as the Miyas of Assam. And this article has been taken from the Indian Express dated 6th November. Alright. Now it will form a part with respect to history of India and Indian national movement with respect to your prelims examination. And it will also form a part under Indian heritage and culture with respect to your mains examination, that is GS1 paper. Now in this particular article students, what is the main news? Basically, there has been a controversy created pertaining to a museum known as Mia Museum. Now, this museum was proposed recently to be created in Assam, and this particular museum was to be established to reflect the culture and heritage of the people that are living in Char Chaporis, and this particular museum has stirred up a controversy in Assam. Now, understanding this particular news headline, we will be analyzing three important aspects in this particular article, wherein number one, we will understand that what is this particular controversy that is concerning the establishment of Mia Museum. Second, students, we are going to understand about the Mia community that is there in Assam. And apart from the students, we will also understand about the geographical area that is the Char Chaporis. Alright, so this is a very important article. It is talking about an important community that is there in Assam, on which a museum had to be established reflecting their cultural identity and heritage. However, it is not coming up because it has become a matter of a political controversy. Having said that, students, the controversy is that this museum had been proposed in an area known as Kalakshetra, and this Kalakshetra is a cultural complex in Guwahati which is named after a Vaishnavite reformer, that is Srimant Shankar Dev. So Shankar Dev, students, was a Vaishnavite reformer, and an area is dedicated to him that is known as Kalakshetra, and it was in this particular area that this museum known as the Mia Museum was to be established. Now the problem here is that, students, that the controversy is between the minister from BJP and another MLA from Congress, wherein the Congress MLA is urging the BJP minister to set up the Mia Museum as soon as possible, However, the BJP minister is saying that they do not want to allow any kind of distortion in the Kalakshetra dedicated to Srimant Shankar Dev, citing that it is an epitome of Assamese culture. So there is kind of a communal tension here in this particular controversy, wherein there is a feud between the Congress MLA and the BJP minister, wherein one is citing that this particular area is an epitome of Assamese culture. It is pertaining to the ideas of Srimant Shankar Dev, and that is why we do not want to build a museum that is pertaining to the Miyas. Okay, and that is why this particular Miya museum is in news. Now, to understand the controversy, let us understand that who are these Miyas, what is this Miya community. So basically students, the Miya community comprises of the descendants of Muslim migrants from East Bengal, which is now Bangladesh, who had come to Assam. Now the term Miya is something that is referred to them, and this is kind of used in a derogatory or a demeaning manner. Alright, so first of all, we have to understand that these Miya people are coming from Bangladesh, and the term that is Miya which is given to them is used in a derogatory manner. Now, when was this migration happening, students? Basically, the community had migrated in several waves, wherein the first wave began with the British annexation of Assam in 1826, and apart from that, these people had also come to Assam during the partition and then during the 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. Now the problem is that once these people migrated to Assam, this resulted in changes in demographic composition, and that is why the local people kind of resent their presence in Assam. Now, over the years, the Miyas have often been stereotyped and derided as Bangladeshi. So, you can see that these people are not seen in a good light in Assam by the local people particularly, and that is why there is this controversy on putting up this Miya museum in Assam. Okay. Apart from the students, we have been talking about that these Miyas are living in an area known as Char Chaporis. Now, this Char Chapori is an important geographical concept, and we are going to talk about the same. So basically, a char is a floating island, and chaporis are low-lying flood-prone river banks. So this is something as has been represented in this particular picture, wherein char is a floating island in the middle of a river. That is, here it is river Brahmaputra, and chaporis are low-lying flood-prone river banks. That is a river bank which is more susceptible to flood. Okay. Now these chars and chaporis keep changing their shape, wherein one can become the other. That is, a char can become a chapori, or vice versa. That is, a chapori can become a char, and it depends upon the push and pull of river Brahmaputra. So you have to remember the concept of char chapori, students. Apart from the students, you have to also know that these areas are prone to floods and erosion, and that is why they are marked as low development indices, wherein 80% of the char population lives below poverty line. Now, since this particular area is very much prone to environmental disaster, students, the people living here are living in sheer poverty, wherein almost 80% of the population comes in the BPL category. Now, the United Nations Development Programme Assam has reported in 2014 that the char areas are suffering from communication deficits, lack of adequate schooling facilities beyond primary, and then there is girl-child marriage, poverty and illiteracy. So students, naturally in an area which is so much prone to environmental issues, there are a lot of developmental issues as well, and that is why such kind of social burdens are being prevailing in these communities, and at the same time they are not even seen in a good light by the local people. So here in students, in this particular article, we have understood three important concepts, wherein number one, we know that a museum known as Miya Museum has to be set up in Assam, which will show the cultural identity of the Miya people. However, it is in controversy as the local people do not want, there is this communal tension, and some part of the people do not want this museum to come up in an area which is the cultural identity of Assamese. Alright. Apart from that, students, we have also understood about the community, that is the Mia community, where they came from, how they came to Assam, and why they are seen in a derogatory light. Apart from that, we have also understood the area in which these people are residing, that is Char Chaporis. What is the concept of Char and what is the concept of Chapori, and why these areas are prone to social problems such as poverty, illiteracy, etc. So students, with this we have completed our discussion on the Miyas of Assam. Now students, we are going to move on to the next article, that is the National Education Day. Now students, this article has also been taken from the Indian Express from your 11th November 2020, on the date of 11th November 2020. This article will also form a part of your history of India and Indian national movement with respect to your preliminary examination, and it will also form a part of your GS1 paper under Indian heritage, culture and history. Alright. So basically students, let us first understand that what is the news pertaining to this article. Now this article is shedding light that why do we celebrate the National Education Day, which personality is associated with the National Education Day. So herein students, you must know that since 2008 we are celebrating National Education Day in India on 11th of November, and this is done to commemorate the birth anniversary of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad and to honor his contributions with respect to the development of education in India. Now, having said that students, we understand that this National Education Day on 11th November is to commemorate the contributions of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, and now we are going to talk about the important contributions of this personality. Alright, let's begin. Now students, first of all, you must know that Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was a very prominent education rights champion, and at the same time he was also very actively involved in the Indian freedom movement. Now Abul Kalam Azad had served as the first Minister of Education of independent India, and apart from that, he was an Indian scholar and an independence activist, wherein he was also one of the senior leaders in the Indian National Congress. Apart from the students, as I have already told you, he has given immense contributions in the field of education, wherein he organized a national education system during his tenure as Education Minister. Apart from this, he focused on free primary education for all, and also he was a strong advocate of women education. Now, because of his contributions in the field of education and also in the field of Indian national movement, he was awarded the prestigious Bharat Ratna Award in the year 1992. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that Maulana Abul Kalam Azad was also a pioneer for establishing the Indian Institutes of Technology, that is IIT, and also the foundation of the University Grants Commission, that is UGC. तो हम इस पर्टिकुलर स्लाइड से ये समझ सकते हैं कि मौलाना अबुल कलाम आज़ाद ने कितने इम्पोर्टेंट अपने कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस दिए थे इंडिया के एजुकेशन को डेवलप करने के लिए, एंड दैट इज़ वाई द नेशनल एजुकेशन डे इज़ समथिंग जो उनको रिस्पेक्ट देने के लिए सेलिब्रेट किया जाता है हर साल 11th नवंबर को. ऑलराइट, next students, we are going to understand the role of Maulana Abul Kalam Azad with respect to the Indian national movement. Herein students, you must know that in the year 1912, Abul Kalam Azad had started a weekly journal in Urdu which was known as Al-Hilal. Now this Al-Hilal had played a very important role in forging Hindu-Muslim unity, which after there was a bad blood which was created in the two communities after the Morley-Minto reform. तो हम सब जानते हैं मॉर्ले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स के बाद में सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट्स मिल गए थे मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी को, और इस वजह से हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी में एक दरार सी आ गई थी. और इसी टाइम पे मौलाना अबुल कलाम आज़ाद ने एक बहुत ही अच्छा रोल निभाया, जहां पे उन्होंने ये उर्दू में वीकली जर्नल स्टार्ट किया 1912 में, दैट इज अल हिलाल, जिसमें हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी के बारे में उन्होंने बात की. Apart from the students, it will be important to note that the British government banned it in 1914 as they did not want such kind of unity to be seen between both the communities in order to keep their governance at a better position. All right. Apart from the students, Maulana Kalam Azad had also supported the non-cooperation movement, which was started by Mahatma Gandhi, and he entered the Indian National Congress in 1920. He was so famous in the Indian National Congress that in 1923 he was elected as the president of Indian National Congress, and he again became the president of Indian National Congress in 1940. तो यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट्स आप देख सकते हैं कि कैसे एक बहुत ही अच्छा रोल मौलाना अबुल कलाम आज़ाद ने हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी के लिए इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट के टाइम पर निभाया, जहाँ पे उन्होंने अपनी एक किताब, एक वीकली जर्नल अल हिलाल लिखा, जिसके अंदर उन्होंने बोला कि हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी होनी चाहिए, पर्टिकुलरली आफ्टर पार्लियामेंट रिफॉर्म, जिस टाइम पे हिंदू मुस्लिम यूनिटी टूटने लगी थी। उसके अलावा ये बहुत ही एक्टिवली इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट के टाइम पे पॉलिटिक्स में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे थे, जहां पे ही वाज आल्सो अ मेंबर ऑफ द इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस एंड एट द सेम टाइम ही वाज आल्सो इलेक्टेड एज द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस नॉट वंस बट ट्वाइस, दैट इज इन 1923 एंड 1940. So students, with this we have completed our discussion on the most important news pertaining to history and art and culture from November 2020. The sources again were The Hindu and the Indian Express. Whatever news I have taken along with the newspaper and the date has been shown to you in the first slide. I hope you have understood all the articles thoroughly. Students, if you like our content, please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you can be updated whenever any important article or video is coming up with respect to your UPSC examination. Thank you so much and have a nice day.